Let me position myself real quick before we do this. All right. I got it? I think so. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about books, like we do every day. Recently, got a new microphone. We're going to try it out. I don't know if I like it yet, but we're trying to improve sound quality in 2025. We'll see if it's a thing. Already filmed this video. Had it connected to my shirt. Did not turn out well for anybody. So let's try it this way. Now, like I said, we're here to talk about books. We're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about all the books that I read in January, and the books I plan on reading in February. Let's just dive right into it. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of things. First, some tea. I'd like some good ASMR. I don't know. First book I read in January to kick off the year was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This was a buddy read with my friend Jessie. Hey, Jessie, if you're there. She DNF'd it. I kept reading. I understand. So when I told people that I was reading this book, I got so many DMs and messages and all this dialogue about this book being amazing and great, and that they were excited that I was reading it. So that's pretty cool. I always love that. But I have to say, I was nervous. I was nervous for you guys. Because about like 50% through this book was still not enjoying it, was on team DNF. Only because the main male character was incredibly cringy. Because, you know the thing in romance books where like you can say it in a romance book, but you can't say it in real life? Everything that came out of this man's mouth was that. And it was so annoying. He was also very much like spoiled brat. That was the first 50%. The last 50%, I was kind of on board. Like we figured it out, we fixed it out, I got into it, and I understood. I understood why people liked it so much. Now the last 10%, Miss Callie Hart decided to pull a Sarah J. Maas and get me involved in the plot. So will I be reading the next one? Yes, I will. The rating for this one though, 3 stars, because it was solid. It was a solid read. I understand the hype. I get where you guys are coming from. But that first 50% was rough. Okay, moving on. I started semester 2 weeks ago. And the first book that we read was Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. I will not be rating this book only because this is an autobiography about a slave. And you can't rate that kind of book. It was great. Love Frederick Douglass's ability to communicate. It was really good. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I think I'm going to do the same thing I did last semester and talk about all my books at once when it comes to what I read for curriculum. But yeah, this was a good one. I have to say, as far as African American literature, solid starting point. So props for the professor. It's not like he has a PhD or something. Anyways, the next physical book, I listened to this on audiobook, Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Sorry to tell everybody, but this might be my top romance for 2025, simply because it's amazing. The angst, the tension, the romance, the enemies to lovers, the setting of this book is amazing. If you don't know, this book is about 2 war correspondents in a fantastical, magical war between gods. That being said, it's also set in like this historical background of the world wars. So you're getting a lot of I don't want to say it's not nostalgia. It's like you're getting a lot of like French countryside, cute boots, dresses, skirts, typewriters, men in, outfits that are stunning, large estates. You're getting that vibe with also like the tragedies of war, of the world wars. And it's intriguing and it's interesting. I love the setting of this book. The characters are to die for. This is basically like he falls in love with her before she even knows who he is. Like I said, war correspondents, magical typewriters that send notes to each other without them knowing who it is that's sending them, or at least one doesn't know. I am currently reading the second book, so I'm trying not to spoil you as I explain this because sometimes I have a habit of doing that. Yeah, I'm already listening to the second book, so I should tell you how much I love this book. This was definitely a 5 out of 5 stars. That's kind of where that's it. That's like now where we're ending this, but that's like the best of this month because from there it gets a little rough. I read The Book of the Witchling. I forget who the author is because I didn't write it down, but it is right here. I think it's C.J. Cook. This was interesting. I liked the premise of this book, but I did not like the execution necessarily. This is about two women, dual timelines, one in Salem witch trials kind of era, and the other one in modern day. What was really interesting to me, and that's why I say I like the premise, is that the historical timeline that you're reading is actually based on a true story about a woman who was accused of witchcraft. So it's super intriguing, super interesting. Loved that. I even loved like looking up the history behind that. The second timeline is a modern teenager. She's a single mom, and lives with her mom. Becomes important at some point. Trust me. But she is found on a beach, burnt. And all the people that she went to this beach with are either dead or missing. And it's kind of like this mystery thriller. These timelines interweave in magical kind of ways. There's a book that that parallels their existence. You learn like about some old pagan tribes of Ireland and the UK, and that's interesting and intriguing, but it just like the execution wasn't there for me. I think it drug on. I just didn't really enjoy reading it. It might have just been the writing style. It was probably just me, and that happens, and that's okay, and we're going to be okay with that. But no, this wasn't my book. Sorry. That's a 2 out of 5. Now, the next book I read was What the Wife Knew. This was a thriller. I don't even remember the name of this author. I don't care to necessarily because this was bad. I'm not a thriller person, so we'll just go ahead and disclaim that. But this book was really just a bunch of unlikable characters. And I could not find one person to root for. And it got to a point where I just really didn't care. I really just ended up not caring. If you'd like to know what this is about a man. He's an awful human being. And he divorces his first wife and marries his second wife because of blackmail, of the blackmail variety. And he dies. And now everyone's being investigated for murder. And it gets kind of twisty and weird, and like you're uncovering things about this family. But like I said, I really didn't care because there was nobody I was rooting for. And at the end of it, I was bored. So I didn't DNF this one, I don't believe. This is definitely a 1-star read. So there we are. Currently reading, just so you know. So we'll go from what I have read in January to what I'm currently reading as of February 1st. East of Eden is in my possession. I'm rereading this for the 3rd time. I read this in 2020 the last time. It is now 2025, so it's due for a good reread. I'm taking my time. We're definitely annotating, taking lots of fun notes, really absorbing this as 5 years later, the 3rd time I've ever read this book. Still absolutely amazing. So props for that. This is going to be its own video, as all the other Steinbecks I have read have been. This is going to be a special one because this is my book. Okay, so currently reading that, and then it's looking up for February is basically I should be saying, because I know it's going to be a 5 out of 5 stars. And now I'm also reading Babel by R.F. Kuang, and this is going to be a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm only like 30% into this book. This is quite a hefty book. It's quite a long book. You wouldn't know, but it is. It is amazing. And I think it's amazing for me personally because I just came off of 2 classes based in a language. And this book is all about language and translations and how powerful language can be. It's definitely a commentary on colonialism and culture and erasure of people's cultures and what is that word? Cultural appropriation of people's. It's so intriguing. You're following a young kid. I don't know how old he is, actually. I don't think it matters. But he was raised in China. At some point, one of these professors comes over, takes him back to the UK to go to school, Babel, which is like an Oxford parallel. And you get to see his perspective as he learns not only English, but Latin and Greek. And he's kind of utilized as their Chinese Mandarin, I believe he speaks Mandarin, translator. And you're just seeing it through his perspective of like an immigrant coming to the UK during this time of colonialism and how socially, culturally, like he's affected by those things. Basically, it is just an amazing dialogue on all of those things about language, translation, colonialism, identity, culture, all of those beautiful things. And it's breathtaking so far. I love even the writing of this book is amazing. So that being said, we're looking up for February. So 5 out of 5. And I'm also listening to Ruthless Vows, which is turning out to be a great conclusion that I'm very excited for. Tea break. I normally don't talk this much in one setting, just so you know. Now, let's get to February potential books, my reading wish list, the books that I hope that I have time for in this crazy thing that I call life. Let's start with the romances, because that's really what we want to see in February is what romances will I be working on? Where's my one book? Oh, there it is. I said I've filmed this before. So the first one, my cowboy romance, Lost and Lassoed by Lila Stage. This is a Rebel Blue ranch novel. Love this for me. We're going to have a fiery redhead meets bad boy in this one, and I'm excited for it. Yeah. That's all I really care about. It's a cowboy romance. You guys know that tropes really just dominate the romance field. So if I tell you it's a cowboy romance with a fiery redhead and a bad boy cowboy, you know where this is going. And I love that for us, and that's where we're going to keep that one. The next one is a Regency romance, The Gentleman's Gambit by Evie Dunmore. This is a League of Extraordinary Women, if I can talk. I have read all of Evie Dunmore's books so far in this series, and I've loved every single one of them. As far as like a romance trope goes, discussing this book, it's a Regency romance, and it's normally the female main character is normally a very forward, progressive thinking woman, and the man kind of gets tangled up in all of the shenanigans that comes with a forward, progressive thinking woman in Regency eras. And it's fun, and it's normally very cute, and I'm excited. Ooh, this might be a this might be a good follow-up for Babel, because this is a student professor romance, and it takes place in Oxford. So there we are. It's been a while since I've read a Regency romance. The next one is a romantasy, Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I don't know much about this. I know that there's like fairies. It is a little bit like Regency. I think there's some historical fiction aspects of this book. Yeah, like the London season. Half a soul, you're looking for your other soul. Apparently, very just romantic. I've not seen one bad review about this book, which is why I picked it up. And we're always in need of a good, solid romantasy. I don't think this is a fantasy with romance aspects. I think this is actually a pure romantasy, and I'm excited for it. The historical fiction aspects have me intrigued. And you have to tell me about this book I just seen it on like a lot of people are reading it, a lot of people loving it. And I'm willing to dive into a book without knowing much about it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is why my like monthly TBRs are so quick. Like the videos are so short. So I'm gonna add it to my wrap up, because I really love going into a book blindly, apparently. I didn't know that about myself before this. Dirty Diana by Jen Basir and Shanna Fest is my next book. This is like an Eat, Pray, Love. That's what we're going with this one. There's a woman who's in a fairly sexless relationship with her husband. She goes on a trip and kind of comes to herself, kind of comes to the conclusion, to the epitome that she is not her best version of herself, and she wants to find that best version of herself. And apparently it's very sexy. So we'll see how that comes to terms. Excited about this one. Andromedia by Therese Boehm is the other book that I'm looking at. This is, from my understanding, this shouldn't be romance-based, but it is a contemporary, and it is about a obsessive relationship between a professor and a student, which is interesting. I don't know why I seem to be trending towards those books. I don't know. I didn't think about that when I put this list together. But it's a shorter one. So like I said, we're getting into semester, as I mentioned earlier. So maybe some shorter books give me a little pep in my step, get me excited to read. And yeah, plus this cover is beautiful. I love this cover. Should I read the tagline? A young editor develops a close bond with her boss in this shrewd novel about the tensions between tradition and modernity and expectations and reality. So maybe, I'm sorry, it's an employer and an employee. Now the last one, the one I am excited about, that I have been thinking about, that has been on my wish list for quite some time now, is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I really enjoyed, what was it? The Unmaking of June Farrow, which is another book by her. Not necessarily magical realism, but she writes books that have, or at least the last book I read in this, hopefully this book as well, books that have like witchy aspects to them is what I would say. Like there's just some sort of like very physical magic going on, whether it's like you give your visitor tea, you turn your room upside down, you have visions or something like that. Just very like subtle witchy aspects that are fun. And I really appreciate that. And I'm enjoying that in my books. And so this is definitely something that I want to read. A woman investigates her twin brother's mysterious death while confronting the ghosts of her own haunted past. So it even has any magical aspects. I'm hoping that it does, because I think Adrienne Young kind of promoted it that way, but we will see. I'm excited for it. So that's where we are. I'm looking at my list. Yeah, that's where we are for books for January and February. Make sure you comment down below on what books you're looking forward to reading. If you've read any of these books, tell me what your thoughts are. I always love a good discussion about literature, because that's where I live. That's where I love. Okay. It's been a while, so I'm glad that I got to talk to you guys. I missed it. Hopefully, videos are going to be more regular. Hopefully this microphone works quite well and we get to enjoy some nice sound quality. Even me when I'm editing. I appreciate it. I think that's it for today. Thank you. Thank you for coming along with me. Make sure you subscribe, comment, and like the video if you want to see more. And I'm here. I'll be here hopefully next Monday too. Cheers to that. And a Happy New Year. Don't let me forget to say that. All right. Bye.